A 33% pullback is pretty much a standard Tuesday here for XRP. Obviously, it can take a few people who are new to the space a little bit, nervous over what is going on. And I'm going to go through why actually things here for XRP are looking very, very bullish. So overall, a pullback like this does not concern me. Guys, as I get into this technical analysis for XRP, if you do find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. Right, let's take a look at what's going on here with XRP. So obviously most recently we have seen a 33% pullback. Now again, like I said, this is very standard for XRP. We can see that over here back in March of 2021 we actually had a 44% drop in a single day before we went up some fantastic heights, right? So we dropped 44% and then we surged up from that low area there all the way up to an additional 454%, okay? And I'm going to go through some of the things that are going on with XRP here on the smaller timeframes in a moment. But on this weekly chart, I wanted to highlight that 33% isn't a big deal, and it is pretty standard within the space. We see all these red candles for XRP, both to the upside and the downside, and all looking pretty standard in the way that they have corrected. Now, again, this is just a reaction to the rest of the crypto space. Bitcoin had a bit of a tantrum. Or I like to say that, some bad actors manipulated Bitcoin, manipulated people into buying Bitcoin whilst they were dumping on Bitcoin. Ultimately, we saw Bitcoin pull back to 42,800, right? So we can obviously see that that was a bit of a pullback for Bitcoin, and the rest of the market kind of followed. And as a result, XRP did pull back, but it has held an interesting support line for us. And I think this is actually a pretty bullish tell on some of these other timeframes. We're going to get into that. Overall, nothing has structurally changed, and my opinion still hasn't changed either. We are still looking at 1,300% in gains, to take us from where we are today up to that kind of $16 price range. Now, I do think that we have a couple of interesting kind of price targets or price expectations depending on what happens with the lawsuit. The $16 scenario in my mind has to happen when we see settlement occur, and that is the most likely outcome in my opinion. I think there will be a settlement, and I think it will come pretty later in the year, much later in fact. If we're lucky. Of course, it could go into next year, which will be very unfortunate. But that being said, I do see a surge for XRP to significant heights of around 1,300% in gains, around that $16 level. That being said, if we do not see a settlement this year, then the bull run should peak out at a different level. And I'll go through that in a moment. But overall, I think with the Ripple lawsuit with the SEC, I think there's most likely to be a settlement, and as a result, we'll surge this area here. Okay, of course, we can go higher than that, but it would require fantastic things to occur on a very short space of time, which is very unrealistic. It's unrealistic to expect the banks to just buy up all the XRP instantaneously after there's a little bit of clarity. It's going to take time, and something that we'll probably be looking forward to during the 2025 bull run and the lead up towards that, rather than this particular cycle. That being said, we are looking for some fantastic highs to be achieved, even if there is a lawsuit still ongoing, and of course there is no settlement on the cards anytime soon. So there are some interesting tells. Let's actually jump into what is going on with that daily chart, because this is where we see the first Fibonacci. The first Fibonacci retracement tool that we are talking about here basically shows us running up towards about $5.58. That's going to be the area that we should be expecting if the lawsuit doesn't finish by the time the bull run finishes. Okay, that's my expectation on it. That's where I see things going. If everything kind of continues as it has been for XRP and Ripple and the SEC. If, of course, we do get the settlement, then, of course, we'll be going after that 1,300%, which would be putting us in that $16 range. And for those people who want to know about market capitalization, I say this quite a bit at the moment because I see a lot of comments on it, but basically market capitalization is a very simple calc. It basically calculates the last sold price of XRP and multiplies it by the circulating supply. And obviously what it doesn't do is show you the value of a cryptocurrency. It actually just shows you the price of a cryptocurrency multiplied by its supply. Now, obviously when it comes to XRP, that supply is quite high, and this then makes people bit nervous thinking that you can't see price discovery because of so much coin in circulation. Now, that's true and not true. It's true to the degree that you have to have some form of control over the supply. If you want to see price discovery, then you need to squeeze the supply. But what it isn't going to do is to put a number on it and say you can't go to $100 billion or $500 billion market cap because there isn't that much money to flow into it, right? That misconception needs to kind of get squashed out because that's not how this stuff works. The market capitalization value, the number that is associated with it, is only representing the current price multiplied by the supply. It does not represent the amount of money going into a project. It does not represent the amount of liquidity in a project. It does not represent the value of a project. And what we mean by this is I was buying XRP at like 10 cents and less, right? And I didn't pay $1.33 for it, but the market capitalization assumes that my XRP that I have in circulation is valued at $1.33. But I didn't put that money in, right? So we know that that is a very basic calculation that doesn't actually have any bearing on price discovery. If we're talking about price discovery and pushing the price of XRP to $16, there's two things we need. One, we need to control the supply. We need to have that supply squeezed, i.e. hodl, don't sell, get it off an exchange, put it into locked up cold storage. Once it's out of circulating supply, it's not there available to be purchased, right? Step one. Step two, get demand for it, okay? So with built up demand on a squeezed supply, naturally the price will rise. More FOMO, more demand on an already squeezed supply basically increases the price of a coin. So you'll start seeing a dramatic increase in value or price, I should say, of XRP, very, very quickly. Of course, controlling the supply can be quite hard when there are a lot of coins. That's the only real caveat to this. There's a lot of coins to control in terms of squeezing that supply and making sure that there's enough demand to push the price up to those significant heights. With that being said, there's one key player who does consistently dump on the market, and that is Jed McCaleb, former co-founder of Ripple and obviously now founder of Stellar Lumens, right? So obviously, he's consistently dumping XRP on the market because he does consistently get paid out from Ripple. That being said, he is running out and eventually he will diminish his supply of XRP and he'll no longer be a burden to the XRP supply. So overall, I do think we are going to see some interesting price discovery for XRP, and we have to just understand that market capitalization has no bearing on it. Right, with that said, we can obviously take a look at what's going on here with this daily chart, right? We can see that we actually were finding some interesting areas here. And this is actually really interesting because when we actually dive into this and just expand this up a little bit, we can see that we were fighting up here and we actually got rejected from our 786 area from a technical point of view on the Fibonacci, just above the 702, got rejected. This is where Bitcoin kind of pulled in, right? So being the fact that we were tracking here anyway, not looking too pretty, trying to push our way through, a rejection looked like it was going to occur. And as a result of that, Bitcoin's also kind of pullback allowed XRP to fall down to these areas here. Now, the good news is the wicks fell down, but we actually closed the bodies quite high and specifically above our $1.07 area. Guys, for those people who are familiar with what we've been talking about recently with XRP, this $1.07 area has been a key point of focus for us, making sure that we keep our bodies of our candles closed above it. We've been retesting this area today as well, and with this dojo candle looking like we're oversold on the daily, so we can start to see a pretty interesting growth recovery here now for XRP. I do feel that this daily chart, although is oversold, we can be sustained in the oversold area for a little bit, but overall this is actually an interesting point. I'm going to get down into the hourly in a moment where we start talking about what's actually being set up here and why we're actually looking more bullish than bearish on this kind of correction that we've seen. Although I did say at the beginning of this video, it's a standard kind of Tuesday to see a pullback like this, and we see this all the time, right? These kind of standard 33%, 40% pullbacks for XRP. These are not uncommon. For XRP Army, we are pretty much familiar with these moves. And when we actually take a look at what we were forming and why we were looking for the push to the upside to try to get past the 702, but actually lost it, we actually were testing this area as we were testing the 618 fib, testing our upward trend line, testing our resistance at $1.33. Pushing again up a little bit further, testing the 702, getting rejected from the $1.39, losing the support line, losing our trend line of the upper bound as well. And what we see here is then this pullback. Now, what we saw here was coming back down, retesting this area. Now, what's really interesting about this, guys, is we can grab another Fibonacci retracement tool. We're going to grab it from our candle wick here to this point. And what we're looking for the bounce. The bounce actually went to the 618 just here, and then we were rejected from it. And now, normally, in a bearish scenario, what you tend to find is during this kind of pullback, you get rejected from the 618, the 702, or the 786, okay? Getting rejected from here in a bearish scenario, you usually go to a lower low. Okay, so normally we go down lower. But instead, what we saw here with XRP was a higher low being set. Okay, so we were rejected. We bounced down to the higher low. Okay, and then we went up again, rejected. We went down to a lower low on this one, but still this low is higher than this low. And right now we are still tracking down. So what we end up forming here, and why this is an interesting thing, is we end up with a slight decline on our highs. So we're setting lower highs, but we're setting higher lows overall. Okay, so what we're looking for now is to see, are we going to get this break to the upside, or are we going to actually start to see a breakdown? Okay, now we can see that on this hourly chart we are tracking just up in the overbought area. We're just pushing up there. So again, we can push up a little bit further before we do have to have that correction to the downside. So we are looking for that pullback, but it doesn't have to be right now. And considering that we are looking at this and we are looking for a pullback, we want to keep it above this low area here in an ideal world. Okay, so if we do see this pullback come in, we want to be really focusing in on a couple of areas on this hourly chart. One is the $1.04 support line here. We want to see if this holds. This was the previous area of holding before we had just a wick pull down a little bit lower. Okay, so when we look to pull back here, this is the area that we want to pull back to if we do see that. Otherwise, we want to break to the upside with a back test on this previous resistance line and turn it into a support line. Okay, so there's two scenarios here, and obviously it can go down, it can go up, as they usually say. But looking at our stochastic and the fact that it is up here, it's probably a higher probability in my mind that we'll pull back. And when we pull back, we want to be looking for that $1.04 area and turn that into a support line. Overall, we're going to be down here for a few days. I would have thought sideways trading before we actually line everything up for that big move to the upside where we start to take out some of these key areas once again. And what we're ultimately what we're looking for, guys, is to basically see this this Fibonacci 786 area get taken out. Okay, so if we actually put this onto here, and then we actually grab that low area and move the low up to this one. And what we're looking for, again, is test it. See how we're testing this area, right? From this high to this low, we were testing it, we're getting rejected. And what we look for is we'll look for that break past this line. I don't think it's going to happen, though. So we're going to, again, keep tracking this down until eventually we get squeezed into a really tight area where we have to explode to the upside. Overall, we are looking quite bullish because we're not setting those lower lows, and it's been a couple of days now. So what we'll look for here is to make sure that we don't go lower than some of these other higher lows that we've been setting. If we continue to set the higher lows, then we're on for a pretty good track to push back to the upside in a really comfortable way. And like I said at the beginning of the video, these are natural kind of progressions that we see within our waves and within our moves to the upside. If we go back to our weekly chart where we're talking about a 33% move and how common it is in the space, what you look for is you see, okay, well, where else have we had these moves? Obviously, there was a big correction wave in the middle here for Bitcoin. And again, you know, we're not seeing similar things when it comes to Bitcoin either. We can obviously take a look at the inflows on Glassnode. We compare what's going on with Glassnode inflows and outflows and volumes on exchanges. Nothing unusual. We look at where things were during May to where they are this time round. They are not exchanges. Exchanges are not, you know, having huge volumes of Bitcoin put on there to dump on the market. So as a result of that, we're not looking for a huge correction wave like we've seen previously. Instead, this kind of nice, healthy 33% correction is something that we've seen previously many times over in many different areas on the chart. So overall, nothing really bothers me too much about this. It seems pretty standard, and we should be continuing the move to the upside shortly. Again, we can check the Avai dashboard. We have a look at XRP. It's still an A3 rating. No indications here on the underlying data to say that there's anything to worry about. Overall, the fear and greed index that was extremely greedy has come down to a more neutral position. which again is not bad. And we take a look at everything else, and everything else is very, very much in line with our expectations and where things should be. So the artificial intelligence hasn't really indicated any issues with the underlying data and underlying value of XRP either. So overall, XRP for me is looking like it's pretty healthy. I'm looking forward to seeing it actually recover from this dip, and we should continue the surge to the upside shortly. Hopefully, guys, you have found this video for XRP useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.